Joining us is Peter Matthews, Professor of Political Science at Cypress College in LA. And look, for many people right around the world, and I'm sure many people in the United States, rather than civil liberty, this is just looked as madness, the whole gun law thing.
Tim, it's almost leaving me speechless, but here's the thing. What kind of nation are we? Are we a nation of laws that will allow law enforcement that's legitimately put in place by the people through voting to be the real law enforcers? Are we going to allow vigilante justice where people can just carry guns around and then claim self-defense and shoot other people? And they shoot other people with no particular motive, no particular self-defense argument when you look at it. And this is a dangerous situation for the United States, because are we going to allow vigilante justice to be, used so applied with open carry laws, guns? In some states, you can carry a gun openly, as in Wisconsin, and loaded. And the fact is that this was something that was a response. There was a demonstration in response to Jacob Blake's shooting by an African-American man by a white policeman. In this case, it was a white young man shooting three white people, young men, killing two of them, because he felt he should defend and enforce the law himself. So it's a very tragic situation. We need to see a very deep self-reflection at this point as a nation.
It's quite unbelievable, isn't it, when you see an 18-year-old in the court. We've just watched the vision of it. Just looks like a boy, a scared boy, that he ever thought that he had the right to put a machine gun over his shoulder and travel interstate to be some protector of the community.
That itself is the main problem, Tim. That is it. How could he even think he had that right? Because there have been too many forces around this country recently released to give that kind of right to people with impunity, to say that I'm going to defend myself regardless of what anyone else says, and I can arm myself as well. There's too easy access to guns in the United States of America, and too many states, which to me is a recipe for disaster. Plus, it's going to impinge on free speech, on peaceful demonstrations, which our Constitution guarantees to us the right to freely assemble and petition the government. That peaceful right of demonstration is being threatened now, because now vigilantes can go to these demonstrations, carry guns with them, and threaten the demonstrators. And demonstrators can counter-arm themselves. This is a dangerous recipe for total disaster, and we should all come to our senses right now and get a handle on this.
Well, President Biden is the latest in charge of the United States to come out and say that he wants to do something about the laws. He seems to have some kind of support, but the NRA is so strong. No one has ever managed to adjust it in the past.
That's true, but there is the future and there's the present where we have to act, and now there's a galvanizing event here. And if we don't get the NRA under control, and the NRA's allies, and don't forget the gun manufacturers, the NRA is like their spokesperson for them, but the manufacturers are the big money people behind this whole thing about trying to encourage the purchasing of arms in the United States and purchasing guns around the world. The gun manufacturers with their henchmen, the NRA, are the ones that are putting this nation in danger. And members of Congress have to stand up and stop just being so flippant about it and thinking that this is not a big deal. The right to bear arms in the Second Amendment is prefaced with the phrase that in order, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. The first part of it is in order to a well-regulated militia, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, comma, the right to bear arms shall not be abridged. So a well-regulated militia is what the founding fathers had in mind, and this time people are just buying guns with no regulation, hardly at all, and that's the problem.
It dates back to when, it dates back hundreds and hundreds of years, doesn't it? It's archaic.
It is, because the country was settled with the use of firearms when the settlers came here and defeated the native people, took over their lands, pushed them up in reservations, and they settled the land here and developed it. And they used guns to hunt on the frontier. And we understand that was understandable. People had to hunt for a living to get food. But it has to be regulated. There has to be real stringent controls on who can own these arms, full training for these people today who want to be hunters, but not carrying semi-automatic weapons around in public, especially at a peaceful demonstration or a demonstration at all. This is what's got to be looked at carefully and very intelligently, not just emotionally, as the country could veer off in that direction, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, we're a little done for time, but what's the latest COVID situation in the US? We're seeing countries like Austria go into lockdowns and mandate vaccination. There has been more positive news in the US with vaccination rates going up in some of those areas where they were really poor.
They have gone up. The rates have gone up in some areas. The young children, the ones below 12 now have their vaccinations ready to go. In fact, my daughter had her first shot about a week ago. She's going in for a second one, the second dose rather, in about 2 weeks, and she'll be much safer in school. But these vaccination expansion is only still limited. It's not enough people are getting it. We got about 100 million people almost who are not vaccinated yet, and they have to get vaccinated to bring this herd immunity or something close to that we need. We're not there yet, and we may end up in something like Austria if we're not careful, because Austria is facing similar situation with very low vaccination rates, and the U.S. has to get on this and convince the people who would listen and those who could be persuaded that this is scientifically based. These vaccines are safe, they need to be taken, and they'll save a lot of pain and suffering.
Professor, always good to chat.
Thank you, Tim. Take care.